Yo, what's up everybody? It's your boy, Brooke YB, back with another book review. Today, we're diving into something super relevant and kinda controversial. This time we're diving deep into Noam Chomsky's Globalization and its Discontents. This book is a game changer, folks. Now I know what you're thinking, globalization? That sounds kinda boring, but hold up, don't tune out just yet. Trust me, this book is fire, especially in today's world. It's packed with insights that will blow your mind. Chomsky breaks down how globalization, that whole interconnected world thing, ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a complex web of economic and political forces. He says it's rigged, benefiting the rich and powerful while leaving the rest of us behind. The gap between the haves and have-nots is widening. He calls out the big dogs, the corporations and institutions, for putting profits before people. It's a system designed to keep the elite in power. This book is a wake-up call, man. It's like an alarm clock ringing in your head, making you question everything you thought you knew. It's about understanding the system, questioning the status quo, and fighting for a fairer world. We need to be informed and proactive. So buckle up because we're about to drop some knowledge bombs. Get ready to take notes and maybe even change your perspective. Chomsky uses real-life examples to show how globalization can be messed up. He doesn't just talk theory, he gives us concrete cases. Like, remember when those big factories moved overseas for cheaper labor? That wasn't just a business decision, it had real human costs. That left a lot of people jobless back home. Families were devastated, communities were torn apart, or how about when certain medicines became super expensive because of patent laws? People couldn't afford life-saving drugs. Globalization can be good, but Chomsky wants us to see the bad side too. It's a double-edged sword, and we need to be aware of both edges. So, let's dig in and understand how we can make globalization work for everyone, not just the privileged few. Stay tuned, and let's get enlightened together. Chomsky's main beef with globalization is that it's not about helping everyone. He believes that the current system of globalization is fundamentally flawed and skewed towards benefiting a small elite. He says it's about making the rich richer, even if it means exploiting people and the planet. According to Chomsky, the promises of globalization, like lifting people out of poverty and creating a more interconnected world, are often just a facade. He argues that big corporations and institutions like the World Bank and the IMF call the shots. These powerful entities set the rules of the game, and those rules are designed to maximize their own profits. They push policies that benefit them, like free trade agreements that allow them to pay workers less in other countries. These agreements often come with strings attached, forcing developing nations to open up their markets while offering little in return. Chomsky says this creates a system where the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. The gap between the wealthy and the impoverished continues to widen, creating a world of stark contrasts and deep inequalities. He believes in democracy and wants people to have a say in how the world works, not just the powerful elite. Chomsky advocates for a system where ordinary people have a voice and can influence decisions that affect their lives. He's not saying all globalization is bad. He acknowledges that there are benefits to a more connected world, such as the exchange of ideas and cultures. He just wants to make sure it's fair and benefits everyone, not just a select few. Chomsky envisions a form of globalization that is inclusive and equitable, where the gains are shared by all. He believes in things like fair trade, where workers get paid a living wage, and environmental protection, so we don't destroy the planet for profit. Chomsky's vision is one of sustainability and justice, where economic activities do not come at the expense of human dignity or the environment. Now, Chomsky ain't the only one talking about globalization. Other economists have their own takes, and sometimes they clash with his. Take Joseph Stiglitz, for example. He's another big-time economist who's written a lot about globalization. Stiglitz agrees with Chomsky that the current system is flawed. He also thinks it benefits the wealthy more than the poor. But here's the difference. Stiglitz believes globalization can be fixed. He thinks we can reform the system, make it more democratic and equitable. Chomsky, on the other hand, is more skeptical. He thinks the system is inherently flawed, designed to serve the powerful. He argues that real change requires a more radical approach, challenging the very foundations of the global economic order. Chomsky backs up his arguments with real-world examples, and trust me, there are plenty. He talks about how free trade agreements have led to job losses in developed countries, and exploitation of workers in developing countries. He also discusses the impact of structural adjustment programs imposed by the IMF and World Bank on developing countries. These programs often force countries to cut social spending and privatize public services, which can hurt the poor and vulnerable. One example Chomsky uses is the 1997 Asian financial crisis. He argues that the crisis was caused in part by the reckless lending practices of Western banks and the policies of the IMF, which bailed out the banks but imposed harsh austerity measures on the affected countries. Chomsky's work has had a major impact on how we think about globalization. He's inspired countless activists, scholars, and everyday people to question the status quo and fight for a more just and equitable world. His ideas have influenced the anti-globalization movement, which gained momentum in the late 1990s and early 2000s. Protesters took to the streets to challenge the power of multinational corporations and institutions like the WTO. Chomsky's work continues to resonate today as we grapple with the ongoing consequences of globalization, from climate change to rising inequality. His call for democratic accountability and social justice remains as relevant as ever. The rich get richer, a closer look. In today's world, the gap between the wealthy and the poor continues to widen at an alarming rate. This phenomenon is not just a coincidence but a result of systemic issues deeply embedded in our global economic structure. Chomsky argues that globalization in its current form exacerbates inequality. The benefits of global trade and economic integration are disproportionately enjoyed by the wealthy elite, while the majority struggle to make ends meet. He points to the increasing concentration of wealth in the hands of the few, while wages for the majority have stagnated or even declined. This growing disparity is evident in the stark contrast between the opulent lifestyles of the rich and the daily struggles of ordinary workers. He criticizes the neoliberal policies that have dominated the global economy for the past few decades, such as deregulation, privatization, and the relentless push for free markets. These policies have often prioritized corporate profits over public welfare and tax cuts for the wealthy. These tax policies have further enriched the affluent, while reducing the resources available for public services that benefit the broader population. He argues that these policies have led to a race to the bottom, where corporations seek to maximize profits by cutting costs, often at the expense of workers and the environment. This has resulted in poor working conditions, environmental degradation, and a general decline in the quality of life for many. Chomsky highlights the role of multinational corporations in this process, arguing that they wield immense power and influence over governments and international institutions. Their lobbying efforts and financial contributions often shape policies in their favor. He believes that their pursuit of profit often comes at the expense of human rights, labor standards, and environmental protection. The unchecked power of these corporations poses a significant challenge to achieving a more equitable and sustainable world. The little guys struggle. Can you relate? Chomsky's critique of globalization is not just theoretical, it's rooted in the lived experiences of ordinary people around the world. He gives voice to those who have been marginalized and left behind by the global economic system. He talks about the plight of farmers in developing countries who are driven out of business by cheap agricultural imports from subsidized agribusinesses in the West. He highlights the struggles of factory workers in sweatshops who toil long hours for poverty wages and face dangerous working conditions. Chomsky also discusses the impact of globalization on communities in developed countries that have been hit hard by job losses and economic decline. He argues that the dismantling of social safety nets and the erosion of labor unions have left many people vulnerable and struggling to make ends meet. What now? Chomsky's call to action. Chomsky doesn't just criticize the system, he also offers a vision for a more just and equitable world. He believes that another world is possible, one where people and the planet come before profit. He calls for a radical restructuring of the global economic order, one that prioritizes human needs over corporate greed. He advocates for democratic control over corporations and international institutions, ensuring that they serve the interests of the many, not just the few. Chomsky believes that change starts from the bottom up, with ordinary people organizing and mobilizing to challenge the status quo. He encourages people to get involved in social movements, engage in political activism, and hold their leaders accountable. Brooke YB's 2 cents, keep it real, keep it fair. Yo, so that's the lowdown on Chomsky's globalization and its discontents. It's a heavy read, but trust me, it's worth it. Chomsky opens your eyes to the realities of globalization and how it impacts us all. He makes you question everything, man, like, is the system really working for us, or is it just benefiting the rich and powerful? Chomsky challenges us to think critically and fight for a fairer world. So, what do I think? I'm with Chomsky on this one. We need to keep it real and keep it fair. Globalization has the potential to be a good thing, but not if it means exploiting people and the planet. We need to make sure it benefits everyone, not just a select few. Peace out.